And I started it. Ha ha.
Awesome. I forgot. Look at that. You know what? Vincent is my co-host. And so I just want to say hello to everybody. My name is Christian Karasevich. I'm the CEO and founder of Social Chefs. It's a social media blog where we write about social media marketing. We talk about social media in terms of the different industries that people are in. So if you're a photographer, retail, real estate and so forth, we break down those tips and give you ideas on how you can use that content in your particular type of business. That way you don't have to try to figure things out yourself. So I'm joined here by my co-host, Mr. Vincent Orlek. Vincent, great to see you this week.
You too. A lot of blabbing about blab this morning that people.
Absolutely. I just want to give everybody just a couple of quick notes here. I do this every show, but basically, if you have any questions, you can put /Q in the chat window here. That'll highlight it for us so we can get to it. The other things are just a couple of housekeeping things. If you want to send us any tweets, I've got quite a few links here for you. I've got the Social Chefs channel. I've got Vincent's Twitter handle. And then you can also use hashtag Social Chatter. And we will answer any tweets that you send us. For those of you who are new to this show, what we like to do is, in 30 to 45 minutes, we try to talk about typically 3 topics and then 3 tools that you as a marketer, as a business owner can use. And we basically talk about the news. We tell you how it can be applicable to your business. In some cases, if it's stuff that's just, it's already out, we give you some help on how you can use it, how you can access it. And we give you tools that we think can also help increase your productivity. So we have a lot to talk about today, I think, right, Vincent? Where do you want to start?
What's first on the list that you sent me? Which one was it?
Well, I think,
what was it? Twitter?
I have Twitter. I don't have the Blab news on there, but we'll put that on there and talk about that at the end.
I don't even know if it's really. It's just something they talked about this morning. I mean, I don't even know if it's something that is worth discussing at this point.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we just give viewers just a quick rundown on what that Blab news was? And I say this because if you have any technical difficulties, for instance, I have a lot of people that email us and say, hey, I couldn't join the show, or I ran into an issue with the mobile app and so forth. There are reasons why that stuff happens. It's not just, hey, they have bad technology. Vincent, can you kind of tell people about that? Tell them what kind of happened today?
They're seemingly the folks at Blab are seemingly refocusing their energy and efforts on going mobile. And I'm not going to say as far as going after the millennials or the teens or something. I just think it's more of a mobile strategy, and it's not through the Blab app that exists right now. It's more, and to back up a little bit, Bebo is the original company that Blab came out of. Essentially, Bebo existed. It was sold. It was bought back up again for a much lower amount. And then out of Bebo, the Blab project, if you will, emerged and was born last year.
Okay.
And so now there's an app that is seemingly available on the iTunes store. I don't know about Android.
What's the app called, by the way?
It's if you do a search for Bebo, it comes up. It's like Bebo something and chill, swipe and chill. Hold on.
Actually, it
comes up with Bebo. But when you search for it, it says Bebo swipe and chill in the App Store.
Okay. Well,
I still haven't been able to connect inside of it.
Yeah.
It's either been like connecting or offline on my screen the whole time. So I know some people were able to get in. But I kind of saw the layout. It looks similar to some other apps, and that's where their focus is, and that's why some of the issues have been happening here on the desktop with people's security and stuff not functioning right and all that. So, whatever. I mean, these are all kind of assumptions that we're making to a point because the Blab brain trust hasn't really come out and said it specifically. They've alluded to a couple things, and Brittany, the community manager, posted in the Blabaholics group about just some things they were focusing on, or what things they were dealing with right then. So that being said, we'll see. I mean, the jury's still kind of out. I know a lot of people are feeling like, well, that's kind of the end of Blab as we've known it. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we'll even get anything from them about like a statement or feedback or anything from them. I don't know. I mean, they've generally been responsive, but they don't owe it to us. It's their platform. They're doing their thing, and part of it's monetization, and that's part of it. Part of what they're trying to do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, Blab still exists. We here haven't really had issues like I know a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we've had, like last week, we had a little kind of a glitch with the screen flickering a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's really hasn't been too bad for us. So be that as it may, we'll move forward.
And I have to say, I mean, just putting this in the context of like business. So put a link in there for everybody to check out for the Bebo app. One thing I want to say is that like you're going to run into this with everything that you do. You're going to go and try to use, a tool, a social network. It doesn't really matter what it is. Like when Facebook live video first came out, for instance, it was okay. It didn't really work that well. And over time, they've improved it. And they don't have to tell you, hey, we're going to be doing this or we're going to be doing that. You as a business owner, this is what I would suggest. Everything is moving so quickly. You can't sit there and say, well, okay, I'm going to wait for them to finish. Because in most cases, you're never going to know when that's going to happen. You're not going to know when they're going to get rid of it. And it's the same thing with this. Blab has done some really amazing things over the last few weeks. They've launched the screen sharing feature. They've launched the drop in a link option, which is really nice. So for example, I can drop in a link to this particular app. Let's see if it works here. Basically, it should pull up the metadata from that app. So they've done some really good things that are really good for their product. Right. And you just kind of have to roll with the punches. Don't let that bother you.
But, again, this morning, it was like a pretty big deal. They weren't in on it, but Joel right. Com had a breaking news Blab. Like a lot of people were in it. There was hundreds of people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like a little, I don't know if it's a panic or just a realization. And they had the app exists, the app exists, Eric, and it's clearly a Bebo mobile app. So that's why everyone's feeling like, well, they've been focused on building this app rather than making Blab better or fixing whatever's been wrong with Blab.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's a great question that we got. Somebody, who's this? Who's eBoy? Let's see. This is sorry, I got your names. I'm not sure. This is Mr. Wonderful, but so no, you're not affiliated with Shark Tank, but Eric, I got to say, that when business, he says no information equals panic, and that's true. When you're sitting there and you're not telling people what's going on, or you're not giving them any insight, people start to, we start to imagine the worst case scenario. And, people are doing that with Blab. We do that in our own businesses every single day when, hey, we're not getting, nobody's reading my newsletter. Nobody's coming to my website. We start to, think, oh, well, it's because of this. And it's actually not that bad in most cases. So just kind of go with the flow on everything. And you are, if you've created, for instance, a strategy for anything social related for your business, you want to spend the time to actually, as you create more and more strategies, it's easier when a new network comes out and it's like, hey, what am I going to do with this one? I can easily throw together a quick strategy and use it. So don't let that, keep you, don't let it hold you back, basically. So that's the Blab news for today, right, Vincent?
Yeah, that's the Blab news for a while. That's the biggest Blab news. It's different than an update or something. I mean, it's not just that they're releasing that an app is available. It's kind of like someone found it or something.
Here's the thing: you never know why. You never know why that even popped up. There's a lot of times where maybe it was an iTunes issue, for instance. Maybe it accidentally got brought back up or something. So just take it with a grain of salt. That's why we've been having some issues lately. But fortunately, knock on wood, we haven't had too many.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way, I don't know if you want to try the link share option here in the drop-in link. See if you can share the Bebo app. I'm going to keep moving on to our next topic, actually. So topic number one, by the way, this is actually topic number one for today.
Mm-hmm.
Topic number one is, a couple of months, I think, how long has it been? A couple of months, I think now. So basically Twitter they talked about lengthening the amount of content you could put into a tweet. You could have like 10,000 characters, something ridiculous. No one was ever going to put that into a tweet. Or at least they would, but no one would read it. So one piece of social media news this week is that Twitter's supposedly, they're going to stop counting links and photos in the 140 character limit. And that's actually really huge news. It's big news because most of the time when you go to share anything on Twitter, I mean, you got to fit in a username, you got to fit in a source, you want to put a hashtag in, a link, a photo. By the time you put any of that stuff in, you're easily at 160, 180 characters of content.
Mm-hmm.
So by removing the link and for links that you include in photos, this should free up a ton of space for everyone to I'm gonna say a ton, but it's a lot when you talk about Twitter, to be able to write longer tweets. So I'm gonna give you a link to the article, but basically,
well, I don't even think it's necessarily having the ability to write longer tweets. It's more about, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'll put something in there. Huh?
It's actually misleading.
Yeah.
Because when you tell somebody, hey, you have 140 characters, and say you're trying to give a business social training, they think, they think they have 140 characters, and you're like, well, hey, you want to put an image in there, that drops you down to, I think, 117 or something. You want to put, you want to mention the source because, hey, it's a good source.
A GIF. I mean, anything is like 23 characters. So, but I think it more applies to like if you want to add an emoji or something, you're right at the limit. Emojis sometimes take up 2 characters to be, super picky, but it's more about just being able to write without worrying about that amount. So it's not even that you're going to use up the extra 23 characters every time. It's more like, oh, well, I have an extra 3 or 4 that I, for spaces and effect and hashtags and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, or you don't have to write the word you don't have to write the word 2 with the number 2 and make your tweets look unprofessional because you typically don't want to include that unless it's like, hey, 20 ways or 2 ways and so forth to do something. It's
definitely a brand move. It's definitely a brand move for brands.
So that's first piece of social media news for the week. Not like a huge earth-shattering change, but it is something to know about because, as this starts to get rolled out, it is going to mean one big change, which is pretty much all the apps you're using. I use third-party apps for my Twitter client. I don't use the Twitter app, but all of those apps are going to have to get updated. So that's going to mean a little bit of a shift in how you're doing things, potentially when that actually rolls out, because what's going to happen. Twitter is going to probably roll it out, and then eventually the business is going to have to then go in and update. For instance, if it's Hootsuite, they're going to have to update their mobile app, their desktop app, if they have any other apps as well. If I'm Tweetbot, for instance, I'm going to have to update my mobile app, my desktop app, and so forth. So it's going to mean, there's going to be a couple of repercussions, I guess. But don't panic if that happens. You always will have the Twitter mobile app to be able to lean back on. And by the way, it looks like it's interesting. So I was able to share this article and it worked, but I tried sharing a link to the download the app and that didn't work for some reason. So that's kind of interesting.
The app is brand new, I think. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. It was just this morning. So.
Bronson Digital, you're talking about must be HTTPS. I don't think it was HTTPS, but I will actually double check that real quick. Let's see.
But it has to be secured.
It is HTTPS. So
yeah, we usually don't have a problem sharing the links.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we'll figure it out. No big deal. We'll roll with the punches here. Okay. So, topic number 2 for today. So we've talked, and by the way, if you have any questions on anything, just put them in the chat window, put /Q in front of it, and we will get those to be able to look at. So, topic number 2, Facebook, they rolled out 360-degree video. How many months ago was that, Vincent? It's been a while, right?
It's been a couple months, yeah. Well, actually, no, since they rolled that out when they gave the ability to, like, the Star Wars one and LeBron James, those were like the first examples. That was several months ago.
Okay.
That was last year, probably.
So, yeah, okay, yeah, it was probably a while ago. I think maybe back in September or something. But basically, what they're looking to do now is to come up with 360-degree photos. Honestly, not very much different if you're if you're using video versus photos, because videos are literally just individual photos stacked on top of one another. So if it's 30 frames a second, you're taking 30 photos and making a 1-second clip out of it. So basically, the news, you'll be able to have 360-degree photos that will be shareable on your Facebook account. And if you're on the mobile device, you will then be able to also use your mobile device and use the accelerometer in it to move around in the photo to get a full view. It's really good because the higher the quality photo, then obviously the more you can take of that space in that area. So,
well, it's the other part of all this is it's opening up a whole new industry. Like virtual reality is going to be this whole new humongous industry with equipment that's going to be needed to be produced and sold. It's just like this. There's 360-degree cameras, that will be just for photos. More likely there'll be some sort of DSLR camera that does both, that most people will use. But again, it's just part of the bigger industry growing and bringing that much more with it into the space.
You mentioned something that's actually really interesting. You mentioned a DSLR camera. So, I have a DSLR camera. I've been using my iPhone a whole lot more than my DSLR, and I find that interesting that while I'd love to have a DSLR camera that would do 360, I just think the direction that everything is moving, it's almost like you don't even need a DSLR these days. It's a big investment.
Yeah. I agree. For most people, yes. For the regular everyday person, if there's the ability to do 360-degree photos on your iPhone, that would be awesome. I would love that. And I know how many people would love that. I guess I was thinking again more so like on the business, the brand side. Like the company I work for, I know we have, we do specific DSLR type photo shoots. We have our photographer or photographers that do those things. So on that side, if it's able to be in DSLR high res format in a 360-degree photo, I can think of 10 things that we could use that for here at our company. And that's all at like one event.
Absolutely. It's going to be. I would say this: if I'm a business, I would say you don't need to invest in all of this equipment at the moment. You're going to want to have it.
Right.
You're going to want to have that market kind of like have it evolve a little bit, because the equipment is expensive. When cameras first came out, you could spend easily $6,000 on a really high end camera. If you're not going to get a lot of usage out of it for your business, you really have to look at your use case. So you don't need a $6,000 camera, for instance. You might need,
right,
a $500 camera, in some cases, $100 camera and so forth. But I'm excited about this. I can think of so many ways this can be used. You've got, obviously if you're in real estate, great way to show properties. If I'm in retail, I can show the inside of my store. In a way, it's almost like taking Google Street View and putting it inside of your business. You, though, being the one able to take that photo. So I would say, this is It's going to be really neat when these come out. Retail business, real estate, any sports team has, they're going to have amazing options to use this for. What does everybody in the audience think, by the way, about 360-degree photos? Can you think of other industries that you might, about that might use this, or how you might use it?
Well, I can tell you, like the education industry, teachers, or trainings for teachers, as my wife is in here. Lisa, she does a lot of stuff with trainings for teachers, and if you could do a 360-degree photo of the classroom, to kind of give an idea of what it should look like, and it's from that perspective, that's a use. Anything that you need to, like a basic use would be anything that you want to show, it in full, right? I mean, anything. You could do, if you're a car salesman, sit in the car and do a 360-degree photo of the inside of the car. And and send it to someone. You know what I mean? Like if I was a car salesman, I would, and I had that ability, it was on my phone on top of it, I would totally take that picture and then I would send it out through my email newsletter that I would have already built up. My newsletter list. But stuff like that, yeah. House, real estate, for sure. Anything visual is real estate agents and brokers need to hop on. Anything visual,
absolutely.
Whatsoever.
And so we got somebody saying, "Hey, did you see the Star Wars one?" Yeah, I mean that was really awesome.
Well, but was that a photo? I didn't see that. Was that a photo or was that the video, the 360-degree
I want to say that was the video. I thought it was part of the trailer, actually.
Because I know, like when 360-degree video first came out on Facebook, that they offered it. It was like 5 pages or 5 brands that they gave the power to essentially beforehand to be part of the launch. And Star Wars for the movie was one of them. So that's why I want to say it came out before the movie, the Star Wars movie came out last year, because that was part of it.
It's it's kind of interesting because essentially you're taking instead of taking like a panoramic photo to fit everything, and you're taking a 360-degree photo, which is,
Well, have you tried to do like the max of a panoramic view photo? Excuse me. I've tried to see like how far, if I could go 360, but you can't. It only lets you, like, if you start wherever, it lets you go. Okay. It's 180. It's really 180, maybe a little bit more, but it's definitely not 360. Because the speed you go doesn't make a difference. If anything, you can't go too fast or too slow.
Right, you can't go because it can't keep up, and then you also have to deal with the gyroscope and the accelerometer in your device, because if you lean forward and backward, it starts to cut off part of the photo. One thing that is actually kind of neat, I don't know if you know this, but when you are taking a panoramic photo, you can start taking the panoramic photo, and if you can actually stop it without taking the whole thing. Yeah.
You can't. Oh, wait, without taking the whole thing.
Stop it.
Yeah. You can take just like a little bit. Yeah. I thought you were going to say that you could start it, stop it,
that would
and
be
then
awesome.
Restart it again on the same
That one's not going to work. You
know.
Can at least start it in one spot and say, instead of taking like this huge spot, say you only want to take this, start it here and go there, and basically hit the button and it stops it. So
yeah, I've used that often, because when it's just like when it's an image or something I want in the image that is just a little bit bigger than what even the landscape offers, you can use it just for that. So if it's just this much,
so that's Facebook 360 photos for you. Look for them soon. They haven't they do things in batches, so some accounts might already have it, some might not. So, if you're going and looking for them and you don't see it, this is why they're not completely rolled out to everyone. Okay, so I'm going to move one thing up in our list, and then we're going to get into some Instagram updates. And I think you mentioned something about Snapchat. Actually, you want to mention the Snapchat one while we're at it? What's going on with Snapchat?
Yeah. Well, it's they haven't come out and announced it. At least I don't think that.
You got a link, by the way. So. Can you put that in the put that in the link?
Yeah. That's right here. The plan is to for Snapchat. Do you want me to drop it? I'll drop it in here. The plan is for Snapchat to develop an algorithm that is similar to Facebook's, where it's going to kind of figure out what you like and who you want to hear from. The same type of idea as Facebook. So I don't know if people on Snapchat necessarily want that. If they want the algorithm similar to Facebook, or like Twitter has recently tried to do, so showing you the relevant content higher up. I personally, I think it's a move more towards the influencers and brands that do have maybe a big following, because the majority of people on Snapchat, this is what a lot of people miss. The majority of people on Snapchat, they don't have these humongous followings. They don't have all these people that they're trying to watch all their snaps and that they're connected to, or that follow them or whatever. The majority of people are on there, which is millennials and teenagers. They're connected to their contacts. They're connected to the people that they have already have in their phone, that they uploaded and connected to through the contacts that way on their phone, or through when they've met people and they've been like, oh, you're on Snapchat, we should connect on Snapchat, blah, blah, blah. And they know the people already for the most part. And they're using it instead of text messaging. They're using Snapchat as a communication tool, not as a way to brand themselves or become an influencer or anything like that. So that's us. Like, that's the marketers, right? The social media marketers. That's what a lot of our type of person is doing, is trying to take our audience there or build an audience there. And for better or worse, I mean, it's bound to happen, because anytime there's a platform that big, that popular, regardless of who the audience is at the moment, the idea is that it's going to grow, and the audience will age up over time, and you want to be there. You want to reach that audience somehow, if it makes sense for your brand, if you're a company. So for this, that's why it seems like it's aimed more at the influencers, the brands, because I could tell you the brand I manage that has the big following, I can't watch all their snaps, but I want to. Like, the point is to connect and to communicate and interact, and that's where the power of it comes from. But if you can't see everybody's stuff that they're posting and snapping, their stories or just individual snaps, and you can't interact, then you're kind of losing the value in Snapchat. It's more than just posting, snapping, and creating a story and then seeing what happens. It's that, but then it's also interacting, the back and forth.
Absolutely.
The human element, So I'm surprised. Honestly, this is one that surprises me. If this is true and it's coming out and it's happening within the next couple of weeks or something, I don't know. I mean, they've allegedly been working on this since the beginning of the year. I'm surprised, but I'm not shocked. I'm a little surprised that this is something that they're kind of focused on more than. To me, this isn't discovery. I would think that they would be more focused on discovery for users right now, as finding internal native ways in Snapchat to discover other users, rather than letting ghost codes pop up and kind of steal that thunder, at least for now. Which ghost codes, if you don't know, it's an app that allows you to go through and search for other users based on different categories. So right now, I mean, that would, to me, that would seem to be the bigger, not issue, but the bigger focus. And for this, I don't know. This is not going to get good press necessarily. I don't think every user or marketer or what have you is gonna love this. We'll see, because it does help. I mean, it seems like it would help with gauging like who you interact with the most, and then pulling them up higher up in the feed for you to see. But that's not always what you want on there.
Right.
not always what you want. And if you're just interacting with people, with the highest ranking people in your feed, well, that doesn't mean that you always want to have that interaction. So I don't know. We'll see how this works out.
And it's a bit of a slippery slope. I mean, just, it's on one hand, people potentially left Facebook and, Twitter and so forth, and Instagram in some cases, to even, to go to a Snapchat that was a little more private. So who knows what they're going to do here? I mean, they do need that in a way, but at the same time, they're going to have to be careful about how they implement it, I think, because that user base, I don't think they're going to like that. So
and there is a money play with this. I mean, there's a money play because there's an opportunity for them to promote, hey, show up higher in the feed by spending this much money.
Absolutely. I mean, they need to do it because, they need money and whatnot to be able to continue to grow. But at the same time, they also need, they have to be, very careful about how they implement something, because otherwise it can alienate that audience. So, how's everybody, enjoying the show today, by the way? We haven't done much very different, but any glitches, anything else going on, or? Yeah, there was a time.
Can you hear me real time?
Froze, and you were talking really slow.
Okay.
Okay, topic number 4. Let's see.
So what we got next? What's
Facebook
next
is bringing video ads to their ad network. I think we knew this was going to happen. It's. I mean, every little iteration, Facebook comes out with. Initially it was we're going to come out with, like, hey, we're on live video. Now we got now we got video ads. I mean, yeah.
Well, maybe Christian, do this. Can you maybe explain real quick the kind of 30-second explanation of what the ad network is?
The Facebook
audience network.
Well, that one was actually
that
was actually the one where you could. Right, a display network, but that was actually the one where you could get into Facebook's network, kind of like Google AdSense and so forth. You basically could tap into Facebook, and then Facebook could show ads based on your on things that were relevant to the content and whatnot you were using.
Well, so how does with the audience network, is that as a business can any business get?
I mean, with audience, I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody want to be in there. I mean, it's a way for you to create better content. And by the way, that actually taps into the whole like instant articles thing as well that Facebook had going on. It's a way for you to use the same targeting, obviously, for your Facebook ads, but you can also tap into custom audiences, your core audience, your lookalike audience, and so forth. So it's basically allowing you to take all the stuff you've done in Facebook ads and put them into Facebook Audience Network, which basically lets you extend your campaigns, beyond Facebook on the mobile apps and so forth. So it's a way for you as a business to be able to not just run Facebook ads, but to have your, ads displayed in other places. So very useful strategy for a business, if you're using the audience network piece. Overall, I mean, we've got, with this new feature, basically you're going to have the ability to buy video ads, and these are typically going to be the ones that are going to pop up on your screen and whatnot, the ones we kind of are already annoyed at, I guess. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like the ones you see on YouTube. Before you go to watch a video, it's like 15 or 30-second or whatever length video before that are annoying. Sometimes you can click out of them, sometimes
post-roll spots within the video player. So it's basically, the benefit here is that, in a way, Facebook's creating essentially they're taking some pieces out of YouTube's or out of Google's book. At the same time, though, it's giving you as an advertiser additional opportunities to to advertise to your audience.
Yeah, well, and isn't part? I mean, the big thing with this too is also that it's typically been
these will
only
be on desktop and also
Whereas
Yeah.
this is desktop. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, you can do
Which is new for the video ads.
So as I mentioned, they run as pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, and then it's within the video player on desktop or mobile websites or within a mobile app. So it's a way to essentially create that ad within Facebook and then put it within other areas, but still have it tied back to your original ad. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully that makes sense.
Right. It's kind of a weird, not weird. It's kind of a thing that people don't really. You don't ever hear anyone talk about the audience network on Facebook, or anything having to do with that. People don't really, even when they run ads, I don't think that there's that little thing that will pop up that you can check the box, right? If you want it to be included in the audience network on Facebook or what have you. And I don't think a lot of people, I think most people do not have any idea really what that means, what that is. Yep. And so they maybe even leave it unchecked.
Yeah,
because they're afraid,
And by the way, the in-stream video ads, I just want to mention this. They're the only audience network ad format that's going to be eligible to run on desktop, supposedly. So kind of keep that in mind when you're, if you decide to tap into this, you're going to have, you have a couple of options. You have options for mobile, but for desktop, you're going to have, slightly less. So, and who's this person? Let's see. This gaming debug, you mentioned, hey, it's great for awareness. Yeah, absolutely. It's great for awareness. But driving people away from Facebook to your site is difficult. I would say, if you're just running standard ads, yeah, of course, that's going to probably be difficult because if they don't know your brand, they aren't connected with you, they are going to really not have an intent, a need to really leave Facebook to go check out something. It has to be a really good offer or something that's very compelling for them. If people aren't coming back to your website, you need to potentially change the content you're sharing, do a little more networking outside of just posting content. Go participate, for instance, in Facebook groups, use the live video features and so forth. Do things that are going to help build that awareness, so that when you do share something, they do start to say, hey, you know what? I saw that business in this place or that place or that place and so forth. So, so that's topic two topic two. What are we at? Topic 4, 5. That's a bunch. So, topic 5. And by the way, if anybody has any questions,
what's the next one?
In the chat, put /Q and we'll answer them. Okay, so topic number 5, Instagram analytics. And we talked briefly about this thing last week. We talked about Instagram's brand profiles that they were testing out. That was it was actually really neat. So if I was a brand, I would be able to go on my Instagram account and there would be a contact button and someone would tap that and they could either get a map or some additional information about me and be able to reach out to me. So, by the way, Chuck, we'll have you kind of talk about that in a second. You have a great question there, or a great comment. But basically, with the new Instagram analytics option they're starting to come out with, it's going to give your business profiles the analytics option. And it's actually kind of neat. You basically get, let's see. So you can see like the top locations. You can see the cities, the countries, your follower growth, gender, age, what else? Follower activity, and obviously location on Instagram. And this isn't, it's not rolled out to really a whole lot of people, but it does give you an idea of who your audience is. So this is good information to really know, at least to know about. Yeah.
Well, it's coming though, and the thing is that the whole 60-second video thing too is I mean, I don't have it yet, but it looks like with this is really where it's going to be implemented, is with the analytics and the update. This is going to help a lot. I mean, it's not the biggest news ever, but it's pretty important. Probably a lot of people have been using Iconosquare for Instagram stats. I know I've used them, and they were called Statagram, I think, before, and they changed their name or got bought or whatever. So it's been Iconosquare, and it was always free up until within the last year, and then they started to go to more like a free trial, and now it's paid, I think, for a lot of it. But that's always been the only real Instagram stat site, because Instagram stats, they don't have anything. They don't have anything, and it's like you
absolutely no, and that's
where do you go?
It's not just, for instance, for stats. Like, and this is actually good because it segues into our last topic actually for today. So they're going to roll out this analytics feature. It's a feature that you had to use a third-party tool. In most cases, it was typically only for like one account, so it actually cost a lot of money to usually use these. Overall, I think Instagram is, they're moving in the right direction. I'd really love to see it how, if they merged with Facebook completely and somehow had all that account, information kind of there together. I talk about that a lot, but
I don't know if they ever.
I think that by adding the analytics, a business needs to know that, and it's going to be really interesting to see, like, because this actually gets into the next topic. But basically, with the analytics, you're going to start to get something that, okay, great, like you didn't have before. If you're a business, for example, you probably were not paying for a tool, or if you were, you're only doing it for like one account because it's, like I said, it's expensive. Most tools charge you per account that you have, and so that gets me into the next question, or the next topic, actually. And there's a reason why I say this. So the other thing that's really big in social media news this weekend, I don't actually think anybody has even talked about this. I think this is major. Instagram is actually changing access to their API. And you're probably, so it's big because if you use any sort of, and by the way, if you don't know what the term API means, it seems like it's very technical, but basically it's a way for you to access features on Instagram using whatever you build, whatever you code. And so what they're doing with this is actually going to break a lot of stuff. For example, how many of you use IFTTT? So if this, then that. That's an automation tool. In most cases, it can do other things for you. What they're going to do with these changes, and by the way, I'm going to actually share these with you guys. It's basically revoking access to let people do certain things automatically. I'll give you a couple of examples. They're directly from the article. This is actually directly from IFTTT, actually. So after it's not good news. It's not good news at all, actually, because
I thought you were saying they changed it to give more access. Oh no!
A couple weeks ago, everybody talked about, like, hey, Instagram's got this whole new rebranding. They've got, they've changed up the icons. They've changed up the look and feel of their app. And everybody's like, hey, I like the look and feel. And I'm wondering if this was I won't say a ploy, but like if it was a way for them to kind of skirt the issue as well, that, hey, they also changed what you had access to as a company. So for example, here's some significant changes. So for example, you could, if you used IFTTT, you could always have it do something based on an action. So for example,
for instance, yeah, go ahead.
Give me an example.
I was going to say, I use it.
Or what you've done.
Well, I do the recipe. I really like it. The one that you can take, because when you share from Instagram to Twitter, it only sends the link along with part of the caption, whatever part of the caption fits, right? But it doesn't put the picture. So I use IFTTT so that it will share the actual picture from Instagram into the feed natively. So it's there. You can see the picture. You don't have to click the link to then go to Instagram to see it. It's in my Twitter feed with whatever fits in the caption.
With that, so here are some of the things that are going to change. So you could build recipes, as they were called, around, for example, on Instagram, somebody liked a photo or a video. A specific user posted a photo or a video. A new photo or video is posted with a specific hashtag. That was actually really big. You could use a specific hashtag and say anything posted to Instagram with this hashtag would automatically get sent to my Twitter account, for instance, or Facebook and so forth. Then also,
right, or sent to a Google Doc or something. You could even do it for a Google Doc, right? You could save posts from certain hashtags if you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can do that with Twitter, for example, still. But with Instagram, a lot of people were doing this. They were basically saying, hey, when somebody likes one of my photos, or when I like a photo I want to have it automatically go, for instance, to my Twitter account. That was a time-saving technique, because you didn't have to go to one app and then go to another app and perform the action. It did everything at once. With this new change, but this isn't. You got about 2 weeks. You're not going to have the ability to use that functionality now because they cut it off. So if you had it set up where you liked a photo or a video and have it do some other action, you're going to have to come up with a workaround, which right now doesn't exist. Personally, I think this is big news. I mean, what does everybody in the audience think? Do you think that this is, do you use IFTTT or other tools like that?
Yeah, Latergram, I don't know. I mean, Latergram is...
the bottom line is this actually, this changes not just IFTTT, it changes like Latergram, it changes any of the tools that, in most cases it'll be IFTTT, but how some of these other apps might have been built might get changed as well.
Well, Latergram, is that they're probably like the only one I'm guessing they have permission that you can actually... Is Latergram the one that actually allows you to post to Instagram, or is it one that you can schedule and it'll send you reminders to post?
Okay, so I know.
Send you a reminder, yeah. Because that's what Hootsuite does too, right? And I think, most of them, that's what they do is they let you schedule it, but then you still have to, it'll send you a reminder and you can go in. So that's what I always thought was funny. Hootsuite was like claiming, oh yeah, we work with Instagram now. And it's like, well, yeah, sort of, but no, because Latergram was one that they do send you the reminder. There's other one, or there's other ones out there that they do, but didn't one of them kind of get slapped on the wrist and shut down a little bit? They got shut down from the API entirely once they found out. Instagram found out. I don't know. I know might have been
Grambler, for instance, was a tool that had that happen to them. That was a while ago. Grambler.
Yep. But Instagram has been, Grambler, that's probably the one I'm thinking of. But Instagram has been famously closed to any of these API integrations and access for anybody because they want it. The philosophy is it's on your phone.
Right.
They don't want you to be able to schedule stuff. They want you to take it real time, or at the very least take it and then upload the photo from your phone. They believe it's the mobile philosophy.
That makes sense.
That's where they're coming from. And yeah, I mean, it honestly surprised me when they even gave 5 months ago, whatever it's been, when they gave us the ability to toggle between accounts. Right. That surprised me because that's the two things is that's like a brand play or marketing manager play because you have multiple accounts that you're managing, or it's an encouragement of people to have more than one account. And generally when that's the case, that's because they have their account. And if they're not in the industry or anything, marketing industry, if it's like a teenager, why do they need more than one account? What are they doing? They're trolling. They're set up a fake Finstagram, right? The fake Instagram account to just go and spy or look at different things like that they couldn't under their own name or, it was a little weird that they did.
Yeah. That. I mean, it was always, and we've talked about this before. A lot of people, what they've gotten to start doing on Instagram is they, instead of just posting their one channel, a lot of people would use that second channel to post like a test photo or to post personal things, and then use the other one solely as a branded channel in a way, to make it, to only post their best snaps. They post less there, but they would post like their best ones. So, it's a way to try to kind of get around the system. But really, I mean, you just need to be authentic and be yourself.
Yeah, and personal account, brand account. That's typically, I think, how people would use the toggle. But the like we all talk about Instagram, how young the audience is there. It's a millennial and teen audience heavily. And, if you're a 20-year-old, you need more than one account because for different reasons potentially, but who knows what those reasons are? Like if you're me or Christian, or Gaming Debugged here, it's you have your personal account, and then I manage, there's a group I'm in charge of, an organization. So we have an Instagram account for them. Then we have the brand that I manage. That's on there too. But you can talk, and you can only have a max of 5 as it is. But why do they even give you 5? Why do they even do that? And so it's all just, so they're restricting the API, but they give you more accounts.
Yeah, I mean,
they make it easier to manage multiple accounts.
Yes, it's a very interesting topic, because on one hand, it's like they're revoking access. On the other, it's like they're, hey, we're going to give you analytics instead. It's like a trade-off, and I would expect them to either go one way completely or go the complete opposite way. Instead, they're giving you a little bit here and a little bit there.
And the analytics are totally a brand play. I mean, the average user, they might kind of think it's cool to see those things, but in general, it's the brand that wants to know that information. So this is the second move recently that's moved them towards more brand managers than it has been for the average user, I would say.
So that's something for everybody to keep in mind, by the way. So just overall, I mean, from a tool standpoint, or from a social media news standpoint for the week, Instagram's obviously got a lot of stuff happening. It wasn't just a rebrand of a logo or all of their apps. I think that was kind of like a little bit of a facade here to kind of get people excited about it, and then say, hey, you know what? Oh, we're also going to do this, and we're going to change that, and so forth. So if you're a business, my piece of advice for you, and then we're going to move on to some social tools here. So if you're a business and you are using Instagram and you're using IFTTT and any of those other services to automate things, for example, like if you're using like Buffer to automate, posting or scheduling of content, nothing wrong with that. But if you are automating based on, hey, you know what, when somebody likes a photo or video, I want to have it do this action as well. Honestly, it doesn't really take that much time to go make those adjustments, like to post something one place and then to go post it another place as well. There's a lot of apps that will help you with that. But my takeaway for you is if you're using any of those tools, any of those services, you are going to want to take some time and probably rethink your strategy a little bit, because automation is not the key. It saves us time, but it basically removes any personality that you have as a business. So if everything is completely automated, there's no reason for me to, follow you if everything, I'm never going to interact with you, for instance, where you're just.
Right. Well, and that's social media related. I mean, that's what we're talking about, because a lot of the stuff, like we were talking about with if this then that, that's why I dropped that link in there. They specifically have a section right now going for all these recipes that are really potentially useful for small business owners. One of them is to sync receipts to your Google Drive. I mean, stuff like that. You're storing information. You're managing these things automatically. Like,
absolutely,
it's great. It's great. And it's not a bad thing to post things automatically necessarily. It's just if you're doing it the right way, and then allowing that to then free up your time to go and do
absolutely.
More
you have to look at it. And by the way, I was wondering where this link came from, but this is a great link that you shared. The takeaway on this is, if you were just using Instagram to fill up another channel to make it look like I have a presence on that channel, these changes are, they're not good. They're not going to help you. They're going to, force you to have to decide, do I want to put my effort into Instagram? Do I want to put it into Twitter? I'm not going to be able to, split that and say, okay, I'm going to have some stuff. I want to have automatic stuff go to Twitter, so it looks like I'm this big account, right? That's not what IFTT or really any of these automation tools are really for. They're there to help you do things that would typically be a very time-consuming process. Posting to social channels is not a time-consuming process. If you plan out all your content ahead of time, it's easy. Plan out 30 days in advance, get a spreadsheet out, create an editorial calendar around what you're going to write, around what you're going to share on social. That's it. where these tools can help. And Vincent, by the way,
Yep.
you shared an amazing article here. And it's not even an article, really. It's just examples, but these are great. I'm just going to read through a couple of these that I think are actually important. So, for example, one tool that I use a lot. So if I happen to be on the web, for example, these social chatter episodes that we put on every single week on Blab, what I would typically do is my process is this. If I find something I like, I will save it to Pocket. And then I go through and I review things on Pocket. Mm-hmm. And then if I find something interesting, I will go save it to Evernote. Okay. There's a couple of steps.
Oh,
here.
I see the one that you're going to say.
One benefit is I can set up a recipe on IFTT that says, hey, anything that I favorite on Pocket, so it goes in my Pocket app for me to read, it will also create a note in Evernote. So it takes out one extra step there. That's a good automation technique right there. For example, let's see, start email. If you use Evernote, for instance, for backing stuff up, and I'm not just using Evernote as an example here, but if you have Gmail and you start an email, you can automatically have that then dumped into Evernote. The previous process would be, let me open the email, let me hit forward, let me type in my Evernote email address, and it will get sent to my Evernote account. You can have it go to, you can have it automatically go to a notebook and add tags and so forth. So that's a really good time-saving thing. Vincent, there's some of this list that you actually use. I mean, I know of some other ones here, but.
Yeah. Not that I necessarily use a lot. I only use, there's a couple that I use. The ones that I generally use a lot of will be to create a Twitter list. But even that you have to be careful with. So what I'll do is if I'm going to an event, or if like the company that I work for, if we're holding an event, I'll probably about a month ahead of time, I'll set up a recipe for, and it's pre-made. Like I don't go in and create it. It's actually, I just do a search for Twitter lists actually, and it comes right up. It's saving anyone that mentions a certain hashtag, you can put them on a list on your Twitter. So I like to do that because then I can see everybody, that a lot of the people are they're attendees or they're just interested parties. There's some spam and stuff in there too, but there's generally not a lot. So it can be useful because then it's almost like a lead list. Like if you're a company, here's the example, right? If you're a company and you're wanting to see, okay, well, there's people on Twitter. We don't have a lot of people on Twitter, but yet this conversation on this hashtag, there's people that are talking about it. Well, let's go in and see, okay, what are they talking about? What are they saying? Who's on the list? Why would they be talking about it? And then are those potential leads? Right. Well, certainly it could be. And we always say, I mean, I've been hearing this for 5 years or around maybe even longer about how underutilized lists are on Twitter.
They are, but you know what? Here's the thing. They are because they aren't even really highlighted. I talk about this, I think, about how Twitter needs to revamp their interface.
They're hidden.
I think I've been on Twitter since 2006, 2007. But that's a really great way to build a prospect list, or to at least to build a list of potential leads. And I don't say like leads in the sense of like, hey, I'm going to build this list of people and I'm going to try to sell them my product. You essentially are, for example, anybody who mentions you on Twitter, for example, there's a recipe in here for that. You can basically build anything you want within reason. Anybody who mentions you on Twitter, for instance, instead of going and following those people all at one time, you can have it automatically. You can create a list that is for instance, it could be a private list, and anybody who mentions you, you can have them automatically added to this list. You could call it leads. And then what you do is you spend time going through that list and saying, okay, instead of me doing these one-off, because that takes a lot of time, you do them in batches. I will check out that list maybe once a week and say, okay, who on this list seems interesting to me that I might want to follow, that might be somebody I might want to reach out to potentially, and you built that list up. And instead of you actually going through each one and let me add this person to the list and that person, it takes a lot of time. And so this actually, go ahead.
Well, it's even go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say it's even a list. I mean, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to apply to sales or customers. It could be so we have gaming debugged in here. That's a blogger. And if you want to have someone that, say you want to have guest bloggers on your site, which is a great way to work with other people and get, build up your exposure. Well, you create a Twitter list that targets, I don't know, I mean, BlizzCon or something. I mean, there's something. So you have a Twitter list of people that are talking about a certain topic, hashtag, and yeah, Xbox One. So then you have this list, and now these are all people that are potentially interested. It takes time to then go through and sort through it and look through it, but how many potential bloggers are going to be in there, and that maybe will be able to help. And if some of them have bigger audiences than you, then you go in and you say, oh, this is cool. They'll have already seen you because they'll have seen that you added them to your list. They'll have been notified. So you'll already be a little bit known to them, even if you don't know them. Stuff like that. I mean, there's a million ways you can use it.
I'm going to actually piggyback off your idea there. So one way that you can use it to use IFTT essentially to build an automated list is to say, okay, I'm going to pick a certain hashtag out. I'm going to create a Twitter list, and I'm going to call it, you could call it leads, for example. Okay, I'm using that as an example, but you can call it leads. Anybody, for instance, who's using the hashtag Xbox One, I want to add them. Again, you don't want to pick like a super generic hashtag because you'll get too many people on the list to go through. But you want to be specific. Oh, I want people to use this hashtag and this hashtag, for instance. I will build a list called leads. I will make it. I will then say, okay, let me set up IFTTT. Anybody who uses this hashtag, I want to then put them in that list. Okay. So that's your first step to get people in that list. Now, at that point, you have to spend the time going through that list. It's just like me, for instance, favoring things on Pocket or putting them in Evernote. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Time out before you continue, because if you call the list leads, make sure you
absolutely
keep private list.
And if you
because people know they're going to want to be added to a list of leads.
Okay, so yeah, that's actually a good example. So if you are going to create something called leads or something that's prospects, so forth, you would want to make a private Twitter list, and you also have to remember when you make a private list and start adding people to it, they don't get notified. So that's good if that's your goal. But what?
I mean, you can call it anything just so you make it public and you know what it is. Obviously, so I would recommend. Yeah, I would recommend. I would definitely recommend. I know you would is make it public.
Within reason. So what I typically do is I actually do a private list, and then so I use the private list to potentially put people, like if there's certain topics or hashtags or whatever I'm interested in, I put them on a private list. That way they don't get notified. At the same time, it gives me the opportunity to go through that list and sift through it and say, okay, who on this list? Great, I got 100 people here. Who do I actually have a potential interest in connecting with? And then what I will do is, if that person I say, okay, that's a good person I want to follow, I will move them to a public list. Essentially, I'm basically saying, let me pull all these people together on a private list. Let me go through it. And then when I find something that's relevant, I will move those people to a public list. So I'm essentially creating a resource for other people. Now, in your case of gaming here, by the way, let's say you're talking about, say you have a Twitter list called Xbox One, or you want to pull people in, basically, they're using hashtag Xbox One. You would put them into you create a list on Twitter, you'd use IFTTT, you would potentially, maybe you want to call the list Xbox One or Xbox users or something. You pull all those people into that list, and then you spend time going through it. Now, maybe they're not going to know anything about you. They're not going to know your content or anything at all, right? What you're going to want to do, though, is you're going to want to go through that list and say, okay, let me see, do I want to follow some of these people? Because, hey, if they're talking about Xbox One, chances are they're interested in gaming. So I'm going to go follow those people, and that's going to be a way for me to bring those leads to myself, so they're Xbox users, and then I'm going to go through them and move them either to my own list, a public list, or I'm going to follow those people and basically empty them out of the list. So hopefully that does help you, because that's there's lots of ways you can do this. So does that help? It's a good example. And I realized we kind of got off track there, but
yeah. Well, yeah. Let's get into the two. We got two tools.
I got three tools actually.
Want to talk about real quick.
I got a third. I actually have
a third one. Okay.
I will say this. I actually have 6 tools today, but there's a reason why. Okay, so tool number one is a new tool from Google. It's called Google Spaces. And do you want me to do a screen share on this or not? Because we can do that as well.
No, I mean, it's up to you. I gotta get going.
We'll keep it short. So, okay, Google Spaces. I'm not sure why that link didn't happen to work, but if you click on it in the window here, basically Google.
Well, the App Store doesn't seem to be working today.
Yeah,
huh? The App Store links on here don't seem to be working. Well, yeah, it's probably Blab.
So Google Spaces. It's basically Google's way for you to create groups through Google, and they're pretty neat. You basically can, I was going to open it up and show you guys, but basically you can create a space, and you can title it whatever you want and invite certain people to it. For example, Vincent and I could create a Google Space specifically for preparing for this show that we do every single week, and we can use it as a way to talk about topics, a way to talk about. What are some of the links you came up with? What are some ones I came up with? That way we're not, emailing or just, maybe using Facebook Messenger and so forth. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a pretty good little app. I mean, I like what Google's doing here. They're getting back into the social game a little bit.
So. I don't know. When I was using, I mean, it's convenient for, it's probably the most comparable to Absolutely. Groups on Facebook. Right, but I mean, they make it easy to share information off the web, off the mobile web into that because it's tied right into Google. You can search for anything, pull it up, a link, all that, and post it right into the little space or group, what have you. I don't know. I don't know that people. I think it's too late for something like this. I mean, Android users probably will.
And this is probably not available for Android. I don't think, right? This Google Space.
It's gotta be. It has to be. It has to be. I don't know because I don't have an Android. It's gotta be.
I'm thinking of a different app. Sorry, my bad. So it is available for Android as well.
This one has.
So if you're an Android user, you can also get Google Spaces. All you do is just search for Google Spaces. So that's tool number one today. From a productivity standpoint, it's worth checking out, seeing if it's actually something that can help you, in your business. I personally, I'm already kind of in Google, I'm in Facebook groups. I've got Slack. I've got a lot of other communication tools. And so I'm not necessarily using this at the moment, but it's something that I definitely will keep in the back of my mind if I need to use it at some point. What about you, Vincent? Is this something you would actually use or kind of like,
I don't know that I'll use it. I mean, I checked it out. It seems like it could eventually, it could be a good place for, funny enough, just yourself. Like if you want to collect news or links or something in one spot, that it could be a good spot for that because everything's housed there and you can find it easily through Google through a search. It's just a Google search and you share it into the space and then it's there. So it's almost like a Pocket,
right, or
Evernote in a sense. But I don't know. I guess you could use it like a group. I just don't see people adopting this to replace Facebook groups.
Okay.
And I don't see where it's enough of a difference from Facebook groups.
So here's what I actually think could happen with this. And this I think could be very useful. So if I'm going to use, for example, if it's tying into a Google account, so anything I do on Google now, when I go to try to do a Google search, it pulls up information based on like searches I've done, or it'll check my email and give me my flight info and so forth. That's where I could see this being very useful is if I'm able to search on Google or use Google in general without having to directly go to the app and pull up the information. That's where I could see it being very useful. I think it could also be useful if last week we talked about the Gboard by Google. I could see this if I'm able to search Gboard. I think that this could be very useful for that. Again, we don't really know, but
I just think it's more of an issue of another app that is very similar to, at least whether it is or not, it appears to be, and it's positioned that way. People are like already talking about it. Look how you introduced it. It's similar to this. Like it's anything that gets positioned that way, or it's like, oh, it's a version of this. It's similar to this. At this point, it's going to be very difficult to break into the markets. Like something like Blab was so different from Google Hangouts or from Skype or Periscope. It's totally different. So you could, if you're introducing something as similar to this, as opposed to, well, it's a combination of these things, it's a problem. When it's a combination of things, I think it has more of a chance.
So that's, and that's a great point you bring up. I mean, it's just that the market was not saturated when live video came out, but nowadays, now, and I'll give you an example here real quick, and we'll move on to the next tool. Nowadays, there's a lot of different apps looking to get applications, social networks looking to, for instance, get into live video. So you got, Facebook Live, you got Periscope, you got Blab, right? Meerkat went away. I was also looking recently at another tool. It was called what was it? It was like the one with
I know the one you're talking about.
Shockers, what is it? It's the one where basically it's an app to let you create videos to stream to other people, which is okay, that's kind of cool, but it still gets into.
It was trending. It was the hottest app.
Basically, the bottom
recently. I know. No, I got it right here.
The bottom line is there are too many apps that do very, very, very similar functionality. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. That's the one I was thinking of.
Superfly.
Yeah. And by the way, I was going to put that on this week's show, but I said, it's useful, but it's not useful because I'm glad they're doing these little micro sites or micro networks, but it's not, you don't need another social network to be able to stream video or share video. There's too many other dominant players there. I don't really get, why they would spend their time building that. So that's tool number 1 for today. Tool number 2 is actually a very cool tool. It's another keyboard, by the way, and it's called Air Social. And I'm not going to do a screen share on this, but basically what this tool is, and this is actually very useful. It is a tool that lets you have certain hashtags defined. You can also choose from contacts, hashtag groups, and trending topics on Twitter. So this is actually pretty neat. You can do all of this from the keyboard. And it's very cool. Basically, you can go to type your message out. It actually looks very similar to Buffer if you happen to look at this. But basically, you can basically, it has social functionality on a keyboard. You can manage your social contacts. So there's a social address book, mentions, insert contacts, and so forth right from your keyboard. This is actually a really cool tool. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but I think it's pretty neat.
Well, I downloaded it, but I didn't.
There's a free version and there's a paid one. I think one's $1 or $2. The other one is, I was trying to understand it. One was $1 with an in-app purchase of $2. And then there's a free one that has a $2 in-app purchase. So I'm not sure what the difference is. One came out March 2016. The other one came out, March 23rd. One came out March 17th, 2016. I don't know. One I pay $2, or one I get for free and then pay $2, or one I pay $1 and pay $2. So I pay $1 more. I'm not sure. But that is actually a pretty neat little app, I think, for what it does. So that's tool number two for today. That's the Air Social Keyboard. What are your thoughts on that, Vincent? You like the idea of having individual keyboards for things?
Oh God! Well, I already told you. I mean, I have probably 6 keyboards on my phone right now.
When people use keyboards, I do have to say this. When you use keyboards, the more keyboards you add, they do take up resources on your phone. It's not going to be very easy to switch between the two. So you have.
Yeah, it does get annoying. I trust me. I'm just kind of used to it, and usually what I'll do is get rid of. I'll turn off some of them at different points.
It's very annoying because, for example, I use Text Expander, and I'll be honest, I don't really like their keyboard, but I like the features and functionality of their tool. That lets me text automatically. It's super awesome for that. Mm-hmm. But it's also really get used to a certain type of keyboard, and you use their keyboard, and it's you're making all these typos. So it's great for just going in and saying, hey, I want to insert this and just get out of there. But if you have a lot of keyboards, you got a lot of stuff to switch between. So that's tool number 2 for today. And then tool number 3 is actually, this is the one that I have actually 4 apps for. Tool number 3 is Adobe Spark. Do you happen to read about this one? Okay, so Adobe Spark, and there's 4 pieces to this because it's essentially their main website. So if you go to like spark.adobe.com, this is basically a take on Canva, and let's see, we got Canva, we got Relay, what else? Basically, it's a way for you to create for your social channels, for your blog, for your website, to create announcements and so forth. And it's free to use. They do restrict you in some sense to be able to access certain things. Like, for example, if you need to export a certain type of file, they might, they want to charge you essentially for that. But it is a free tool that's available. And within that, they also have some other things. So they have Adobe Spark is the product, and then they've rebranded their apps. And their apps are now called Adobe Spark Post. I'm going to share these with everybody here. So the initial app is Adobe Spark. It's a way for you to go in and create graphics for your website and so forth very easily. Within that, they now have individual apps as well for your mobile device. So for example, I can go do Adobe Spark Post if I'm interested in creating things for like social media channels. And this is, by the way, sorry, if I'm interested in creating these for my mobile device. The other thing they have is Adobe Spark Page. Adobe Spark Page will let you pretty much, you can put together like a website. So the page option will let you create a web page from your words and your images. That's a free app as well. And then they've also got a video component. So they got Post, Page, and then the last one is Adobe Spark Video. I'm going to put all these in the chat window for everybody. They're literally just basically apps for doing specific actions out of Adobe Spark on your mobile device. So have you had a chance to play with this, Vincent?
No.
Are you a Canva user at all? Or?
Oh, God, yeah. No.
Yeah, and Ripple.
Oh, God, yeah. Ripple, yeah. Gaming Debug, Ripple.
We did talk about Ripple, yeah.
One of the ones that we had talked about here?
I remember that one, and then
right, a couple weeks ago. I remember that one, and then they're all kind of that space. Canva is really the leader, I think, along with maybe
also
like
Pablo. Yeah, there's a couple of other ones as well in there.
For creating those images, quick, like easy images with words and stuff like that. So, and WordSwag is another one. The app.
So I mean, so as far as like, for instance, like Ripple, I mean, all of those tools are great. Adobe Spark, in a way, they trump all of these because they also are potentially going to tie into Adobe's line of products. So you get where I'm going with that. I mean, everybody who's an Adobe user, I mean, it makes more sense for you to stay with an Adobe product than to download some of these, additional apps because they, in a sense, are duplicating functionality. I mean, there's 5 apps, for instance, to be able to add text to images. So, it's there's a lot of options here. I mean, this is a cool app, though. I mean, the good news about something like this is, that Adobe is, it's a well-run company. I mean, they are very good at what they do. They've been that way. They've been an industry leader for a long time. And so they know what they're doing. They're very good at building out their product and making it, very functional and very less buggy, basically, than pretty much any other tool you'll check out. So you got a lot of options here. And by the way, for those of you interested in WordSwag, this is WordSwag. It's a cool little app as well. But the Adobe one is nice because if I'm already in Adobe's products, say I'm using their Creative Cloud, now I can do all of this from their mobile app. And it should sync back to the cloud for you, which is pretty awesome. So you have to, you kind of have to take into account the monthly cost and so forth of these tools. But overall, they're very good tools. So those are the tools I have for everybody this week. Vincent, anything else you want to share? Okay, so we've got a different show. We've got another show next week. It'll be in 6 days. So I just want to give everybody 2 quick things. So one is if you would like to subscribe to next week's show. you basically go here. That'll give you the option to sign up on Blab. And then just two other things real quick for you. One of those is I've actually been putting together an email newsletter, a daily email newsletter, where I give you, a couple of pieces of news and then a tool or an app that I think is very useful. If you want to get on that list, let me actually get the link for everybody here. And let's see. It's actually really cool. You and I talked about this. We were using Curate, right? I think that's it. We're talking about how awesome it is. I mean, it's that's actually a really fun app. Basically, that is an app to let you, if you're a Weber user, you can basically now create emails literally in like 5 minutes by just sharing links that you found on your mobile device. So that's using Curate. So I actually have a list together where I send them out through Curate. If you want to kind of see what that's like, I'm happy to add you to that list, but let me get the link. Let's see, give me 1 second.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll probably be back here on Blab next week.
I don't think they'll shut down, but I mean, again, take it with a grain of salt, everybody.
It's just in a little bit of a state of flux.
So I got
right
that
now.
link, by the way, for
Everyone's
Curate.
freaking out,
So if you want to get added to a daily email, basically you can just go here. So you'll get basically a daily email. You can just go here, basically just fill out the form, and I'll just shoot you an email once a day with a couple of items. I really like that app, so I've been using it a lot more. And then lastly, if you don't want that, but you just want to know, like, hey, send me a link to next week's show. Tell me what the topics are. You can text 3344. Sorry, text Social Chatter to 33444. It's going to get you on our list, and at that point, we'll notify you about future episodes. If Vince and I have something else going on, we'll let you know about that as well. And with that, I will have a replay up tomorrow of this. I think it went well, Vincent. I mean, we didn't have any issues. Another great show, I think. If everybody feel like what you see here, just subscribe and, reach out to us with any questions. So thanks again, by the way, for staying on. I know we're a little bit past our normal time, but thanks, everybody. And we will see y'all on next week's episode of Social Chatter. Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.
Take care. Later.